I don't know how you got here, but I'm glad you're here. Some souls arrive with a purpose, so some lives don't belong to the people living them. Some bodies only borrowed. This one, she didn't come here just to survive. She came here to change everything. Let's begin.
Chapter 3 The Vessel. A silken crimson feather slid into my hair, and I patted it in place. Perfect placement. Aunt Eliza always said, perfection compliments a girl. And tonight I needed to be perfect. I was in the market for a new benefactor, and this gathering promised rich noblemen and saints, not just one, but 4 saints. Tonight is our night, Aunt Eliza. I indulged in a girlish giggle and blew a kiss toward her face, captured forever in the provocative, oversized painting on my parlor wall. Once her parlor wall. Curiosity held my gaze longer on her stylish profile. Her body, which was wrapped in emerald green fabric that barely covered her modesty, was in the same familiar position. But were her eyes looking somewhere else? I didn't remember them looking straight at me before. A feminine voice hissed suddenly. All hers, not mine. I blinked. Had those words been mine? Jealousy had never touched me before, so the word startled me. I dismissed it with a wave of my satin-gloved hand and turned back to my reflection. I didn't have time for hysterics this evening. My driver was already waiting. I pressed another layer of rouge onto my lips, my thoughts returning, as always, to St. Michael. I'd been on my knees all month, sending up pleas to the light that he would be one of the saints tonight. Half the town's women had likely prayed the same prayer. Surely the collective faith would make it so. I blotted my lips with the tissue and tossed the delicate paper into the ornate bin at my side. Eliza Moretti, the world-famous courtesan who had brought men to their knees for decades, my aunt and caretaker after my mother was murdered by my father, would be squealing in her grave at the possibilities. Tonight, I was going to outshine even her. Respectfully, of course. Tonight, I was going to change my life, and she would be proud. I adjusted the bodice of my gown, a strapless corset with a plunging neckline. My breasts looked soft, inviting, exactly as intended. A dash of perfume between them, and I was ready. If St. Michael appeared, correction, when he appeared, I meant to be prepared. He wasn't just the most sought-after member of the Saint family, he was the head of it. Women gossiped endlessly about his rumored affairs, young ones sighing with longing, while older ladies condemned him with crossed hearts and muttered prayers. I listened to the stories and I schemed. Becoming his mistress wasn't scandalous. It was a smart investment. The women who managed such a feat lived in luxury, for life. My plan was to be among those few tonight. Giggling again with excitement, I crossed the wide room to one of many ornate floor mirrors, turning to inspect my reflection from every angle. But my laughter faded almost as soon as it rose. My vision blurred. The room began to tilt. I grabbed the nearest mirror for balance, blinking back sudden tears, trying to steady myself. That familiar wave of nausea rolled through my middle. No, this can't be happening again, not now. This was what, my 4th spell this month? The doctors I'd summoned over the past few months All agreed it could mean only one thing. No, I refused to think of it. There was a party to reach, a golden chance I couldn't miss over speculation from a handful of quacks. I pressed the heel of my palm into my belly, kneading the pain away, then froze mid-breath. Wait, something wasn't right. I looked around the room, but my vision stayed blurred, the edges of everything wavering. All of this was off. I rubbed my eyes roughly, uncaring of the makeup I'd spent an hour perfecting. The cheerful yellow and pink powder room of my townhouse parlour shimmered like a mirage. The painting of my aunt on the wall had changed again, her smiling lips now pulled into a frown. A sharp jolt ran through me. I stumbled back, colliding with the glossy black lacquered vanity. Bottles rattled in protest, a few toppling to the carpet and spilling their fragrant contents across the floor. This wasn't real. This was a memory. Her memories, not mine. I drew a breath and shut my eyes. Then pain, sharp and foreign, tore through my skull. I gasped and clawed at my hair, desperate to ground myself. I was lost inside my vessel's memory from years ago. And it was agony. I'd gotten the timing wrong. I'd entered too far back. I should have arrived at her present. I reached for a point in the distance, dragging myself through the thick blur, through time itself, until at last the illusion cracked and I slipped free into the ether. I pressed onward, diving deeper through the vessel's timeline, memories blurred past in streaks of light, bright, colourful fragments of the townhouse dissolving into dim, muted tones of the present scene. My consciousness felt scattered, splintered into pieces. One wrong move and I could lose any fragment of myself to time, maybe for a lifetime. I slowed, a sense of arrival washing over me. I had reached the right moment, or close enough. I'd stopped just shy of it again, but it was too late to correct course. I let the moment take form, allowing it to solidify around me. Clarity returned. The past dissolved. My awareness filled the vessel. Slightly older now, no longer a young maid, but a frail woman trembling under the weight of illness. Her body was weak, yet her soul calm. The hopeful girl I'd glimpsed moments ago had become something else, softer, wiser, and at peace. I stayed still, letting her final memories ripple through me. She'd been so full of life once, lost perhaps, but never faithless. In her last year, she'd found purpose. Her prayers to the light had been pure, her devotion unwavering. Despite her flaws, her redemption shone bright enough to hurt. Tears slid down her face, my face, as trembling hands arranged bottles of homemade cures, each one crafted with devotion. She'd given herself to service, striving to light what little remained of a darkening world. When the market of Eden returned to her town, she had vowed to go, no matter her condition. Once a place of wonder, the market had grown darker over time. But still, she went. Because where the broken gathered, hope could still take root. It was there she'd seen him at last, Saint Michael. His presence had been impossible to ignore. Even in the shadows, he radiated authority and allure. For a fleeting moment, his eyes met hers. She had dreamed of him for years, but that look they shared, it was as if he'd finally seen her. Enough. I tore myself free from the lingering memories of hope and regret. They were hers, not mine. I would honor her, yes, but I was no mortal dreaming of a saint's attention. I had a mission. A flash of white light snapped me into the present. This time I landed only moments ahead. I stood at the heart of a crater, celestial debris scattered around me. The woods beyond were scorched. The air reeked of ash and charged energy. I rolled my shoulders, feeling the weight of the vessel's frailty pressing in. She had been so tired, so weak. But that would change. The light would take it from here. Her simple white gown clung to me, worn but clean, a small gesture of dignity for the archangel she had unknowingly welcomed. I closed my eyes and let my grace flood her mortal shell. Slowly the fatigue ebbed, replaced by power. Her fading consciousness whispered gratitude. She was at peace. She would not survive my mission. Mortal bodies never could. But she would at least witness what it meant to be a true soldier of light. I opened my eyes and flexed my fingers, testing the sensations of touch. Each breath was a heavy pull, the air itself electrifying, almost too much to bear. Mortality was a weighty burden, but one I would carry with honor for this short fragment of time. I gathered that electric energy, the fabric of reality bending around me as I prepared to leave. The mortal gown melted away in a shimmer of light, replaced by sleek divine armor, white and silver metal gleaming in what darkness remained. Her once wild blonde locks, now blanched white by grace, braided into a long plait over my shoulder, each strand aligned like a silken rope. With a soft step forward, I vanished, teleporting through the ether and leaving only a crater where I had stood. I appeared silent before the Saint's fortress. Lumenhold's massive front doors rising like a wall of gold and stone. Ornate carvings loomed above me, glowing faintly in the dim light. I might have been impressed if I hadn't seen better in the Kingdom of Light. Nothing could compare to the splendor of where I'd come from, a place I was already eager to return to as soon as my work was done. Lumenhold's gates opened as I landed, like a servant awaiting my arrival. I walked inside, with purpose. Teleportation within these walls was impossible. I would have to cover the rest of the distance on foot. I used the moment to acquaint myself with the feel of mortal muscles moving, strange, heavy, new. The hum of disgruntled voices guided me through the corridors. I didn't bother looking around. I stopped outside a pair of opal doors, their polished surface reflecting my white armor. Beyond them, saints bickered, oblivious to my presence, like children squabbling. Pausing, I sensed the weight of what lay ahead. This would be a long road to salvation. If salvation was even possible, it could just as easily end in a burning revelation. For the first time, the enormity of my mission pressed against me. Could I do this alone? My reflection in the doors drew my eye. The crest on my breastplate, wings wrapped around an ornate sword, matched one I hadn't seen in centuries, not since the last archangel walked among man. I traced my fingers across it, a symbol of strength and dedication. The sight renewed the current of purpose running through my veins. It would not be easy, but the light would prevail. It had to, or this timeline would collapse. I would order it so. With a deep breath, I pushed the doors open. The dining hall was a tension theatre. Saints sat scattered along a ridiculously long table, their polished appearances little more than a facade. The hall fell silent at my arrival. Before me was what they might call a family meeting, but nothing about it felt like family. Even their auras clashed, echoing the dysfunction I'd heard through the door. All eyes turned toward me. Their fragmented auras rippled, the only outward sign of their shock. I stepped inside, deliberate, my heeled boots striking marble with echoes that filled the quiet. This was my first solo earthly mission. I had no plan for an introduction, so I spoke the truth that lingered in my vessel's memory. This fortress, as does this land, reeks of corruption, I said. I'm here to uncover its root and to purify everything in light. My gaze skimmed past St. Michael quickly, resisting the vessel's favoritism of him. The one known as St. Cassius had mumbled something, then leaned back in his chair, his smile a polished lie. "And you are?" he had asked. For a heartbeat, I almost gave my vessel's name. Then my own flowed from my lips. For the first time in creation, I was a person, but I was not her. I was me. Soon these memories will be only mine. Until then, I was us. I said instead, "You may call me Uriel."